Wait. Hang on, something doesn't seem right. I need to change. I look like a Broncos fan. Hold up. This won't do. This won't do! Alright, this is much better. Cool. Anyways, my wife Christine and I recently had the privilege of going to the Chiefs game against the Giants. This was both of ours first NFL game that we've ever been to. This was also our first time going to the American Dream Mall while we were in New Jersey. It is the second largest mall in America outside of the Mall of America. And that's going to have to be its own separate video because that place was knucking futs. That was just so ginormous. Anyways, a little bit of a backstory. I'm a Chiefs fan, duh. I've been a fan since I was about 10 or 11 years old. And I was a fan when Trent Green, Priest Holmes, Dante Hall, Scott Fujita, Jason Dunn, Annie Kedison, and many
unbearable hours later,
other players were around. So I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've been a fan for a bit. I have to say how Christine surprised me with the fact of going. She just walked into my office one day, just through that door, and was like, "Hey, how would you like to go to a Chiefs game?" I'm just like, huh? And my brain made the atypical AOL dial-up noise. You know, the crunchy. But yeah, my brain was just head empty. Dial-up sounds just going off like crazy. All told, both shocked and surprised me out of the blue. So there was that whole spiel about that. It took us about 4 hours to get to New Jersey. Once we recovered from the drive, we spent a good chunk of time at, like I said, American Dream, and damn, that's a big-ass mall. Just so many shops, so much to explore, and too little time to do it in. So there was that. And then Sunday. It's game day, baby. Yeah. Freaking all the excitement in the world. I was jumping around into the hotel room. And it was just, the excitement was there. Christine and I were both just like, what are we expecting from the game? How do we feel the team's going to do? All that. So we had a lot of time to kill in the hotel and just speculated how we were doing, how we would do in the game and stuff. And the last football game I ever went to was the Division II Championship in 2016 when Shepherd went and faced Northwest Missouri State. Praise the hotel that we stayed at for having a shuttle service, because F paying the parking prices and F dealing with the traffic, because it was bad. Yeah, there were so many Ubers, so many taxis and stuff. The shuttle service dropped us off at the mall. We walked across the bridge, and there it was. We, took in the scenery around us at MetLife, and just took in the sheer scope of the size of the stadium. So while we were just standing around waiting to walk to the gates, we just kind of took in everything, talked to some Chiefs fans and stuff like that. I remember one guy walked over to us and was like, "Easy win, baby, easy win." And I'm just like, we'll see. At that time, we were 0-2 and kind of, can't count out the Chiefs, but in the same regard, I'm like, we'll see. You could definitely feel the electricity and the energy of the fans for both sides while we were waiting around the gates. I will also say I was very surprised by the amount of Chiefs fans that were there. I know the Giants and Jets are pretty well versed in their fan base. And I know the Giants are the Giants. Damn, Chiefs Kingdom. I was not expecting as many of you that were there. There was a lot of red and yellow that was around, especially at the gates. So I was very shocked. We walked into the gates. Once we made it up to the 300 levels where we were supposed to be sitting. I will let in the moment Jimothy tell you how he felt. Holy shit. Holy fuck.
Yep.
God damn.
Yep.
This is high.
Yep. We're going up there.
Damn. This actually isn't as bad as I thought, but this is still high. Jimothy is not happy about this. Jimothy does not like heights. anything for the team.
He's fine. He's exaggerating.
Yeah. I kind of just took in the surroundings, kind of waited a little bit to get food, you know, saw the players doing warm-ups and things like that, and just kind of enjoyed ourselves in regards to just taking in the whole atmosphere of the stadium and the vibes while everyone was getting settled. And it was nice to see from, you know, sunset into the dark of night when the game was getting closer and closer to kickoff, you know, how much more the stadium filled in. You know, player introductions, that was really freaking cool. You know, the music was going, the lights, the different colored lights were from wristbands that they had given us when we entered in. And that was really cool. That was a nice little intricate detail that helped make the experience, because you could see the lights pulsing and stuff like that. It was so cool just to see, you know, 80,000 plus wristbands change colors for the team and just, you know, go with the whole vibe. That was really neat. It was just such a unique experience, to say the least. And, you know, there was the fireworks from when the players enter and stuff like that. That was really freaking cool. And then the national anthem before the game, that was really neat to see that big of an American flag be unraveled. That was really cool. I didn't get a video of the national anthem because I wanted to be respectful. And then actually seeing the game live and playing out and stuff like that, you know, there was a lot of really fun things that they did during commercial breaks. I know, because of Taylor Swift potentially being at games and being in suites. I know they had a little bit of, you know, jabbing fun with Taylor watch and stuff like that, and then they pan through the different seats and stuff like that, and they find Lawrence Taylor. Just, you know, that was cool to see. That was a really neat experience. That was cute. That was very cute. And plus, like I said, a subtle jab at, you know, T Swift and stuff like that. So that was really neat. I was surprised at how many former Giants were there and how many other celebrities. Some I didn't know, some I did. But it was really cool to see. Tiki Barber was there, Eli Manning was there, Lawrence Taylor was there, Brandon Jacobs was there. He came out. That was really cool. So it was really neat. But yeah, it was a game. During the first half of the game was a little left to be desired. It was closer than I anticipated. I think the Giants abandoned the run a little bit too quickly after the first half. I think it's Tyrone Tracy. But when he went down with his shoulder injury, that deflated their game plan a little bit. I know Cam Scattaboo really helped their game plan out, and he was pretty solid. I just wish the Giants would have kept with the run game between him and Singletary a little bit more. And the Chiefs definitely were sluggish to start. That was a little rough. You know, I know the fumble that Mahomes got back from Okereke, that was, you know, a tide-turning moment for the game. And that, you know, I think that definitely set the pace going into the next half. You know, we had a tie game going in, and, you know, that was better than what I had asked. I know Butker missed a field goal, but, you know, it happens. He's a professional. It happens. But there was points left on the board, and, you know, it happens. But all told, we limited the mistakes. We did make some. And the penalties were so many penalties. We got bailed out, but like, goddamn, so many penalties. Once we got into halftime, North Carolina A&T State Aggie Blue and Gold Machine performed at halftime, and that was really cool. That was my first time seeing an HBCU perform in a while for marching band, and that was cool to see, because they were one of the bands I've been wanting to see perform for a little while. So that was really neat to see them perform. And like I'd said, you know, that's kind of the halftime aspect of the shows that you miss for a football game when you're on television, or when you watch it at home on television. So it was really neat to see them. They performed really well. They had the lights in their Shakos, so that was cool to see, because they formed the A&T logo as a formation, so that was really cool. And then there was a fan football throw contest, and Eli came out as the opponent for the fan, and I'm sure he was both scared and in awe of the fact that he was throwing against a idol of his. So that was really cool. That was cute to see. And then yeah, after the halftime show, you know, the third quarter and fourth quarter kind of just flew by. You know, there was some plays here and there, but ultimately the Chiefs kind of rolled their way through the rest of the game really without a hitch. The Giants kind of just derped. And it kind of, you know, I feel bad because individually there's a lot of really good players on that team. And, you know, there were some things here or there that they could have really utilized well. It just didn't go their way. Like, as a Chiefs fan, I'm not complaining, but in the same vein, as a football fan, I feel bad for the Giants because it wasn't that good. So yeah, but it was a lot of fun. You know, Christina and I really enjoyed ourselves. We had a blast. You know, we really want to go see another game again. You know, it'll just be a matter of planning and seeing. If there's another game close to us, that'd be cool. Whether it's a Chiefs game or even a Bears game. I wouldn't mind taking in a Bears game to support Tyson Bagent, because go Shepherd. Because I wouldn't mind taking in an NFL game at another stadium. And I know sometime down the road we would like to go see a game in Kansas City because, you know, duh. I really enjoyed myself. I know Christine really enjoyed herself. She had a lot of fun. It was a blast. And I am very happy that we were able to make it happen. I know last year was rough with being unemployed. And I know something Christine did that really made me feel good and helped put a lot of stuff in perspective for me was she got me a cameo from Noah Gray, one of the tight ends for the Chiefs, and he gave me a little pep talk, and that meant a lot. You know, I still have that cameo, and, you know, it really meant a lot to me that she would do that to be able to help me out through this time, as well as also just kind of help remind me, like, hey, you know, it's a dark time now, but you're going to get through it and it'll be all right. So, you know, I thank Noah a lot for that cameo. You know, it brings back some emotions because those wounds are still fresh, but, you know, I'm in a much better place now at work because of that cameo. Noah is, you know, one of my favorite current players on the team because of it, just because of the effort that he put into the cameo. Thank you, Mr. Gray, for the, you know, kind words and encouragement. It means a lot to both my wife and I. As a Chiefs fan, I'm happy we won. I wouldn't have been surprised if we lost. Of all teams I would have been disappointed at, it would have been about the Giants, but oh well, it is how it is. But anyways, I think I've rambled on enough. Be on the lookout for my video next on the experiences at American Dream. Again, second largest mall in America. Like I said, this place is freaking huge. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, dislike, whatever, you know, any kind of support helps. I don't make content as much as I'd like to, but in the same regard, I try to make it count. It's a fun experience I wanted to share with you all. And if you have any fun NFL experiences or any fun experiences you've done this year, please let me know in the comments. I would like to hear all about it and, you know, kind of create a community of it. But hopefully y'all have a good day. I will talk to you later. Peace.